Hello and welcome back to Rebound with Resilience, a podcast dedicated to raise your resilience, mindset, and mental wellness. On this episode, to talk about turning pain into purpose, from despair into hope, we have the co-founder of Project Green Ribbon, a mom of 3 kids, and of course a really good friend of mine, Ling, in the studio.
Hi, thanks Kevin for having me. It's been a long time since we were supposed to do this episode, right?
Finally, it's during Christmas. We're finally going to do it. I'm still looking forward to hosting you.
It's a good catch-up lah.
Yeah.
Catch-up session.
Okay. How have you been?
I've been well. I think lately it's been really hectic. I shifted, so there's some things that we're doing in the middle. And then it's holiday seasons, right? So my kids are home and...
It's no longer in Punggol already, Sengkang shifted off.
We're still in Sengkang,
Okay.
but we shifted very recently. So we did everything, like, can you imagine I unpacked the house in 3 days? I was like, no, I had to get everything done. So it's been very hectic, yeah.
Okay, anyways, I know today we're going to talk. Usually with your... I've done a lot of media stuff, right, with various companies. Usually it's about 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. They cut it. I think with Zula it's probably 30 minutes. But today's the first time we'll probably go long. I think you told me with The Real Singapore, you spoke for 3 hours, right? And then they cut it to 10 minutes.
Yeah, usually...
I wonder how that worked.
I have no idea. So even with like other organizations,
Yeah.
it was always like 3 to 4 hours
Wow.
easily. Yes. And
Wow,
it was
okay.
always cut very short.
Yeah.
So they had to compress it. So every single time I see the producer, I'll always say like, I wonder what it's going to turn out like.
Sure.
Like how is it going to turn out, what's going to happen.
But I think the thing about the podcast, is this your first time on the podcast? A longer form one? Not really, is
we've
it?
had podcasts before.
Before
I think they're all the same, like all different kinds of terms. Yeah, but I've been on a podcast before as well. Yes.
Sure. But with me, hopefully it's different because we have a different dynamic. And then maybe we can explore different things in detail, right? Mental health, trauma, and kind of talk about Project Green Ribbon as well, something I'm very connected to. Yeah. I just want to let the audience know, when I first met you, the kind of impression I got, I was a bit intimidated. By her conviction and your strength. I was like, I don't think I can handle this person, even if I work with her. You know what I mean? So I think that was the side that I saw of you first. I was like, okay, Ling, she seems like she knows what she wants. Right? She has a very clear vision of providing a voice for the unheard. Raising the resilience, mental health of society, which is kind of very aligned with what Rebound does. So I was, but of course, along the way, I known your story, through the media. And I started to realize that beyond that strength, you also have a really soft heart. And when I met you once or twice, you really understood my problems. The kind of radical empathy you had to understand my problems and just put it into words, right? What I'm feeling, which I personally cannot do. So wow, that was very comforting, Yeah, and I think I hope to explore that a bit with you, how that empathy and strength, that blend came about.
I think it's a gift to a certain extent, a gift that I'm still learning to harness.
Sure.
So, empathy is something that has been very contradicting for me because sometimes you like it and sometimes you don't. It's like you can feel every single thing. So sometimes I ask myself, is it normal to be able to feel every single thing?
Yep.
Like everyone's situation, and if so, why?
Yep.
Which is something I'm still figuring it out.
Okay. Yeah, I think even with recent incidents, right? I don't bring politics in, but even with recent incidents, you see that compassion sometimes can muddle discernment, right? And with empathy, it's the same thing. Sometimes it kind of compromises your discernment, or and then you kind of have to separate both. It's not easy, but we still have to do it, especially in this line that we're in. If not, we really will get overtaxed emotionally.
I think I'm learning and I'm doing quite well. So I keep it to a point like I try to draw a boundary. So to a certain extent where I say, if let's say I were to help someone, how do I start to feel a bit lesser? And be a little bit more objective. I think that's the middle point that we want to be.
Okay, yeah, I think we can kind of start into the broadcast proper. I think I want to quote one person from Real Singapore. I think you put in your PowerPoint as well. That I think someone mentioned that this lady has lived multiple lifetimes. I think she wrote something like that, right? Because of the things she has gone through. So I imagine that you have seen, right? You have felt a lot as well, experienced so many things. And I think I just want to explore that, right? From your childhood to teens and eventually starting Project Green Ribbon, of course, with your husband. and how that has played out for you. So that's what we're gonna go through today. But Ken, right? And before I think we start, I just want a very curious question, kind of teaser question, because recently, especially, you put your life out there. It's really there, right? Like everything, it's vulnerable, it's raw. Does the thought ever cross your mind, like when your kids grow up, right? Like you start to understand a bit better. Like, do you think has the thought crossed your mind that it will affect them or? Like,
so this is where I try to draw the line as much as possible. You know, in the articles, I always make sure that the kids' faces cannot be revealed.
Okay.
One of the reasons is simply because they have that choice to make. What if it's something they're not comfortable with? What if they're more introverted? What if another one's more extroverted? So that's something I thought about already. The second thing that I've thought about is actually to say that the truth is always the best, something that I believe in.
Okay.
And I do intend to share it with my children one day.
Sure.
So with that being said, you know, if you can actually be honest about your experiences and what you've gone through, there's nothing to hide, and show a side of imperfection of who you are as a parent, as an individual, as a person to your kids, then they will also be able to be more in touch with themselves. But at the same time, knowing that we never give up, and this is just life. Life is full of circumstances, right? So this is what I'm very prepared, and I've thought about many, many times.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. I think it's really the same for me. Like when I owned it completely, no one can use it against you anymore because now you are the one that is in control.
Yeah.
You know, but it's still not easy. It's still not easy because I cannot imagine being in a position. You're a mom of 3 kids, right? But the fact that you say that the truth prevails and you want that to be that connector between y'all, well, it's very powerful. Sometimes parents can't do that. Many parents find it very difficult to be completely vulnerable with their kids because they feel like, I mean, this is a parenting thing. I think there are pros and cons to that, right? But some feel like they need to control or they need to have a certain distance between them. And in my work, I realized that may not work very well for every single kid, so especially youth, right? And then they just get into a lot of interpersonal conflict. And that, it's not. So I understand. Okay. I guess before we go, I mean, is there any messages you received from people, that reached out to you after watching?
Lots of messages, actually. We have received a lot of people who say that, they have not been able to find the help that they're looking for. And, through emails, at some point in time, my phone number was actually the main hotline.
How did they get your phone number?
So it's very new, right? Like Green Ribbon was very new.
Just put your number.
Yeah, no one will really know.
Technically, I also put, but nobody contacts me, so it's fine.
And then I removed it immediately. I was like, oh no, this is really bad. Like, this is not working out. So I removed it entirely.
Sure.
And it's not there anymore.
Sure. Okay.
So I get a lot of emails, and then through our office number, get a lot of calls as well, and people coming in to, share different experiences. But one of the things that's most common is people are always looking for help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Emotional?
That's the thing.
Technical help?
It's always about help. My question will always be, what help do you need? Yeah.
Okay. Ken, I think we'll dive into that. There's more of a Project Green Ribbon later on. But I think let's go back to where it started, right? Where this mission, this cause started. It actually started from pain. I don't think a lot of people realize that purpose can come from pain. Yeah, so I guess we can go back to your childhood. Right? Let's start from there. When was the time where you realized that, hey, my life was a bit different from other kids?
So you see, the thing is, I was actually fostered by a family, and I was supposed to be adopted by that family.
Okay.
And life was great then.
Right.
So things were life was just great. That's it, simple, right? Nothing more to elaborate on it. And then I was taken and placed into my great-grandmother's house. So there are a lot of things that I don't want, there are a lot of details in place there, right? Yeah. I was placed in my great-grandmother's house. Okay. And as a child, normally I would think that, it's like going to your grandparents' house and then you come back, you don't think much into things. Sure. But when things really started changing for me, or when I realized I was really weird, was when I was taken out and placed into my biological mom's place. Okay. And then my name was changed. I see. And then I suddenly have a new stepfather. I have a new mother. Okay. Even though she's biological. Yeah. But it's a new mother to me in my eyes. And a new school. Right. And a new location. So it's like I was from East Coast to Pasir Ris, and it's like, where's Pasir Ris? Can you imagine before that, even somehow or rather, unfortunately or fortunately, I was brought up in the West. So from the west, you bring me to East Coast, that's not so bad. It's still quite familiar. To the east.
Right. And I mean, anybody would find it difficult, let alone a 9-year-old child.
It's a lot of changes at the same time and within a very short period of time. So immediately that really sinked in for me, and there was a lot of instability. There were no conversations. Nobody talked about it. You know, there were no explanations either. And that was something I just had to deal with, right? As a child, you don't verbalize it, but you just live life.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think it went on, I think also in other features, you did share that your biological mom, the way she... I don't want to put judgment on that, but I think that caused a separation between both of you where she extended control quite an extreme. You had to do certain things exactly the way she wanted you to.
So that was what I remembered through my memories, right? So as a child, I mean, let's go into 2 points of view.
Okay.
One, as a child,
Sure.
she was controlling.
Yeah.
She was like, you know, wow, who's this? Like, I really looked at her like a witch.
Mm.
But if you look at it in a standpoint of today, I'm still me, right? I'm still her daughter, but I'm Ling and I'm much older. I'm a mom.
Yeah.
I would say that she did her best.
Okay.
At the point in
Appreciate
time.
that. Yeah.
But unfortunately, life circumstances is something that's not within anyone's control. She did her best at the point in time, the way she knew. Like, no one makes the worst choices.
Yeah.
But that was the reason why I think, one of the reasons why things didn't work out between me and her, because there was no connection. So before we talk about going into any conversations or any details with an individual, there must be a connection.
For sure, yeah. Connection comes first.
Yeah, when there's that connection, then we start getting to know each other a little bit. Then over time, we start to get to know each other a little bit more. And, you know, then it builds up into something. And that happens in friendships, right?
Yeah.
But if we talk about family relationships, then it's even deeper, isn't so?
Yeah, I think connection has to come before coaching. Again, I think you did acknowledge the point where sometimes parents are just loving you the best way they know how. You know, I don't think they should wanted to put that. I mean, I think that's not good there because I cannot be in her position. But what I do know is the impact it had on you. That's a fact, right? The impact it had on you was tough, and then you ran away from home at 12.
The impact, so when we talk about trauma, it's very, it's a little bit complex, but yet it's very simple. In that relationship, when there's no stability, unfortunately, I always say to myself, sucks to be you because you're an adult and you have to deal with the situation being the adult. And our best intentions may not be the best for that situation.
Yeah.
And then consequences always comes. And there's only 2 kinds of consequences, good or bad, regardless of whichever situation that we're in. And in that sense, for her, I wouldn't say it's judging, but I know that she did her best. So there's nothing to judge because no one was her and no one was me. So in that relationship context, right, I screwed up a lot. I mean, if I was her, probably I would say, my goodness, why do I have a daughter who's like a monster?
Sure.
Right? Who's doing so many things that, why can't she just go to school? I just gave you a house.
Yeah.
But in my point of view as a child, wow, my mom's the worst mom ever.
At that point, you didn't have this maturity yet to understand, right? Of course.
Of course, no. So at that point in time, it's like, wow, you're the worst person ever. I hate you. I just want to be anywhere away from you.
Okay.
But that is also the child's mentality at 9 years. Also, I call her Little Ling, where Little Ling is very, very, she's immature.
Sure.
And she can't verbalize it. She can't understand it. So, I don't like you. Full stop. I just don't like you. Yeah.
Okay. So that was the beginning of you seeking solace outside home. And I think we know, even from my experience speaking to people, when they do that, problems do arise. So I guess we could dive into that a little bit. You started hanging out in groups and everything. That was 12 years old already? 12 years old, 13 years old?
I was about 9. I was about 10, 11 when I was on the streets. So I was sleeping on the streets, sleeping at different HDB blocks.
At 10 years old?
Yeah. And in
you told me.
HDB, there are those cupboards below with pipes in there. And then some has more space and some has lesser space. I would actually open one by one to put my clothes in there. And then I'll look for places to go to the toilet, I'll look for places to sleep. So I used to sleep at the playground. Last time playground, they had this like a tunnel.
Yeah.
I'll sleep in there so that police cannot find me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or HDB blocks. So I'll go and look for the floors in between. Because sometimes at staircase, right, there are doors, and then if you see someone there, someone might make a police report.
Sure.
So always at about 4-ish, 5-ish a.m., you can start hearing people waking up.
Okay.
And that's when I will start to get very panicky.
Right. And you said that even now there's that impression that at 5-6 o'clock where the time is coming and then you feel a bit anxious. Is it a different thing?
Mornings, the 4-5 a.m. mornings, not so bad.
Okay.
Not really. Okay. The one that really affects me is actually 5 to... Okay, not really. It's better now at 5 p.m. But it really hits me at about 6, 7, 8, 9 to 10.
Okay.
I mean, onwards through the night, because... Especially when I'm in a bus.
Okay.
I didn't realize this, I didn't know that it hit me.
Yeah.
But when I was in a bus the other day at about 7-ish, I was going down to, the mall with my kids. And I started feeling this feeling of like, okay, wait, it's not safe. I'm back again. Something's happening again.
Sure.
Then
It's
I had
psychological memory.
It's an emotional trauma that triggered the memories.
Okay. So you're homeless and in some sense living on the streets, right? Did your mom make any attempt to look for you?
There were lots of police reports.
Right.
So
you're missing eventually.
Yes, plenty of police reports. But they're just police reports. When I go home, the thing repeats again.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So no one can stop you from... Technically they can, right? You lock up the house and everything. No, you just found a way somehow. Go to school and then you run.
Yeah. I mean, there was an alarm in my house.
Yeah.
So I have an alarm system in my house. I can't go anywhere. My windows are all meshed and locked. I had maids at home. So there's nothing that I can really do in there. But you have to let me go to school, what? That's why I say, as a human being, sometimes people don't see this, It's a good thing and a bad thing. If someone is in a situation that's so desperate enough,
they will find a way.
They will find a way to get out of it.
Okay.
Regardless, I mean, you hear sometimes prison also, right? Like everyone's like, how did they do that?
Yeah.
So it's human being. It's human nature. When we are so determined to want something, we'll just do it, But there's a good and bad lah. We can choose to use that strength in a good way or bad way.
Moving a little bit more, I guess, to 12 years old, 13 years old, that's where you really started to get involved with people, with groups.
11,
yeah. Share how they treated you, and was there any... I'm curious, like how they treated you as an 11-year-old kid. How old were they?
I was always the youngest.
Okay.
It started from my schoolmates, and then it went on to like different kinds of people from different groups in different locations. So from Pasir Ris, I ended up in Bukit Panjang also, right? And then you realize that you need to mix with older people. So it came to a point where I was mixing with about 16 to 23, and I was always the youngest there because I thought they might have more money, more safety, more like a place to stay. And at that point, there were some who were quite kind by offering me food. There were many, many others who were not kind, who wanted to go out with me. It started off with just wanting to go out with me, like, oh, just be a girlfriend. And that's it. Oh, okay, I got a boyfriend, And there's safety, the sense of security. And then it became those other girlfriends where people don't actually keep to their promises. So, for example, when they say, I'm going to come down and nobody comes back down, they just go up and then they're gone. And then at like 11 plus at night, it's like past any time of calling anybody, there are no human beings around, and that moment you just ask yourself, where are you going to go?
It's okay if I ask about the first time, I guess, you were abused in that way. That was before you went to working in Geylang and before you had to make ends meet.
Which way? Which abuse? I'm sorry. Which one?
I guess first time you were sexually abused.
The rape incident that day. Well, it was the same thing, you see. So I had a boyfriend.
Okay.
I think it was like my first boyfriend. I still remember his name, He was 17 years old. 16-ish, 17. And we were going... Yeah, one day I just needed a place to stay, so I went back to his house. And it seemed very safe because he was from a particular organization.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought it would have been safe. I mean, the parents were from a particular organization.
Sure.
So you wouldn't really like think anything otherwise about that. It's like the safest option that you have.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just slept on his bed. So it was a single bed. And he was lying next to me on my left. So I still remember back then when he was lying down, I thought like, okay lah, just sleep, right? I mean, you're so young, you really don't know anything at all.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know is he just climbs on top of you, he unzips your pants and he tries to put himself into you. And then it was painful. So when it was very painful, I said stop, which he did lah. So I said I needed to go to the toilet, and I went to the toilet, and the next thing I know, there was actually blood. And then I pretty much like knew, okay, something was wrong. Yeah, something happened.
But you kind of put that memory aside for a while.
Yes, I actually had put that memory aside for a very, very long time. I didn't even remember it until probably 2 years ago or 1 year ago. When I was in therapy once, and I was just talking about it. I was just talking about certain things, and they said, "Oh yeah, this thing happened," and they were like, "Oh yeah, it happened." Like, and then I started talking about it, but it was not there. The memory was gone.
Yeah.
And then they said to me it was rape. I never really knew that it was rape. I've never like, I was raped. I didn't go through any of that at all. And there was also no shame. There was just no feelings.
Right.
I'm not happy about it. I'm not sad about it. I'm not shameful. Nothing. I just don't feel anything about it. But also, I try to let myself know that maybe it's because it's something that my mind has
kind of blocked out.
Blocked out, yeah.
What about the years after that, though? Did it affect you emotionally the years after that? So after the incident, you just carried on.
Yeah, like nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Okay.
Even when the police came, when I was in the home, and suddenly the IOs came and said, this thing happened, so it's considered as, you need to go to the checkups. The only thing I felt was during the checkups, I was like, got so serious. Like, okay, so. But maybe because I've already learned how to build up my own resilience to fend for myself. So our minds are so strong, right? They're so powerful. Has learned to protect me in that way. Without me realizing subconsciously. Yeah.
Sure. And you're out of school already then? You're not in school or in and out of school?
I was always in and out. I was in and out school ever since I was like P5 already.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess we can transition also to talk about gangs. I believe hang out with some of them and also eventually worked in KTV and also at Geylang, right? How did that come about? Was it initially? It was with someone, right? I think
I had another boyfriend. Yeah. So, there were a lot of incidents in between, and I was just with another boyfriend, and I needed a job. So I was like, back then, my stepsister, she was working in Starbucks, and she was 16.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I think you had to be 15 or 16, minimally. I think McDonald's was 15 also, and I was not up to age yet, right? I was still like less than 15. So I looked through the newspaper and I saw this job called guest relations officer, and it was at a hotel. So I just called them up and they told me to come down.
Sure.
So I came down at the entrance of the place, spoke to the manager very briefly. I don't really remember like
exactly
the scene. Yeah, I don't. I just know I spoke to someone. I think it was a guy, and that's it. I got the job.
They didn't ask your age, nothing. They didn't care.
Yeah, they didn't ask. I did mention briefly, but that's it. You see, no one said anything, and that was like my first interview. So how would you know that? How is an interview even supposed to be held? Okay. Like if today someone says that to me, right? I'll be like, "Oh, this is creepy, man."
Even now it's creepy, but back then you were under 16 or something.
Yeah,
it's even more insane. Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't creepy for me because your mind as a child is so simple. It's so simple that can earn money.
Correct. I understand from your child's point of view, but from their point of view, would they not know that you're 14 and they had no boundaries, like ethically, they just didn't care?
I don't think they care, and many people don't care, and that's the fact of it. Yeah, as I actually grew up in life and I started to say, there are a lot of kind people, but the truth is there are also a lot of people who don't care.
Speaking about that, the girls there that you met, do you know, I'm just curious, their stories, like why they ended up working there, why they choose to there?
I've never really mixed around with them. I don't really, even if we do mix around, it's very superficial.
Sure.
I was never able to really communicate or converse with them.
Yeah.
There was just a language barrier.
Right, a lot of them were from mainland. Presuming
from
it's a stereotype.
Vietnam.
Okay.
Okay, and for the local ones, it was just I mean I don't mean anything, but in my entire journey, most of the time, I realized that the people that I was hanging around with were not able to even speak proper English.
Mm.
So there was a level that was very different
Sure.
of understanding, and we just couldn't hit off.
Yeah.
There was only this particular one girl who I always see her come in office wear.
Okay.
And then, I spoke to her once and I asked her, like, what do you do? How old? She's much older.
Sure.
And she actually had a day job. She was an admin worker in the
Okay.
day. And she's doing this for extra money.
Okay.
So, sometimes, you hear things like that. It was like, oh, means it's not so bad after all,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Because you have a proper job. So, I just went on with it even more.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't want to really dive into the ethics and the emotions behind it. I think that's a different podcast altogether. Whether it's ethical, whether this industry is fine. But I think what I do know is that it did have an impact on you, lah, for sure. What was the impact you left behind after you came out of that life? I know you stopped, right? You came out of it. Why do you come out of it, and what impact did it leave on you?
Why did I come out with it? Honestly, is because of my marriage today.
Mm.
I mean, I've never really been there like every single day. I don't usually. So what happens is, okay, usually the girls, they work every single day.
Yeah.
So many years back, you can be a basic staff, like
Sure.
a basic hostess, and then you get a salary of like 600,
Okay.
but you have to clock like from this time to this time,
Mm.
and then whatever that's extra that's yours, they're
Sure.
yours. But I was never able to get that either because I was not up to age.
Sure.
I did ask for it before. And then moving on, so I got into the butterfly mode lah. I just go where and when I want. And I don't go to work every single day. It's very periodical. And I realized that has actually become a coping mechanism for me.
Okay.
I would rather be at the KTV because there are people, there's attention, than being alone on the streets, not knowing where to go. Like, I can take your cigarettes and smoke. I don't drink. I get the attention. That means
Sure.
people are still talking to me. There's still people there. I'm not going to be left alone. That was really the impact. And every single time something big happens, I just want to go back there. Again, not because I like it, but yet beneath that all, I have a lot of shame, a lot of guilt that I deal with until today. Like, I always feel that things are dirty and things have to be in a certain way. I don't wash my hands like, they say OCD, I have to wash my hands like so many times. I don't. But I've placed myself in a position where I am so rigid about every single thing that I have to do a certain like routine in my house. And then at some point in time, every few months or weeks, I will feel that everything's not within my control, in the house, and it comes out in that way, So I start cleaning. I have to spring clean my whole house every few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Sure.
these are all the impacts that's left me. I think I must say that emotionally wise, lots of shame, a lot of shame that you just deal with, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of a lack of confidence that people don't see.
Sure. Up till today.
Yes, of course, until today, and that loneliness that you feel, it's there, it's not gonna go away. If like no matter what people say to me, like, hey Ling, you look so confident, I
Yeah,
say
yeah.
you have no idea.
That's what I wanted to also talk to you about, because the link that I saw that day, right? It's one facet of her. Not that it's a false, not is that it's a false persona you put up.
No,
I think
it's not.
right. It's you.
different.
It's just different, right? The conviction, the empathy when you're leading from the front,
It's like
especially when you're
Ling
leading.
today,
Yeah.
30-year-old Ling, and then little Ling comes
Sure,
out, and then
at
the
certain
different
points, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
and every
okay.
single night, 30-year-old Ling is no longer there. Every single night, like probably it's I don't know which age, one of
Sure,
the ages.
sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, that must be so difficult though. That must be so tough to deal with because you never know like which part is coming out, and then you have to have a coping mechanism to deal with it, and then you have kids also. You have responsibilities.
It is very tough, I must say. Every single time I do an interview with people, it drains me out tremendously. And I haven't even started with my husband and what he actually goes through. You see, his story is as much as mine.
Sure.
And I think that's also a good thing why we can match
Yeah.
right? And I have to deal with that as well. Like dealing with my husband's conditions, dealing with my own past. My husband has his own conditions to deal with my own past.
Yeah.
And then my kids, and then with work, and then talking about survivability and my own conditions. There's just a lot, and everything is like very, very confusing most of the time.
You all work things out. I think you're doing your best. And I think in many interviews, you mentioned about how we're imperfect, right? I mean, you all see us, we are leading from the front, but we're also imperfect people. We're figuring things out.
Yeah.
I think that genuinely, like what you're communicating to me now, that sincerity is something that I think people resonate with, people connect with, people appreciate.
You see, I had this question many times. I was very worried when I did the media. Things like, oh no, wah, jialat.
Yeah, everyone's gonna know, right?
Not about everyone's gonna know.
Yeah.
I've always, when I started this entire thing, right,
Sure.
one thing that I have convinced myself very strongly is that I don't care what you're gonna say. Because at the end of the day, I am alone.
Sure.
And that's why I don't believe in the statement, you are not alone.
Wow. This puts into a good snippet.
Sorry, yeah, it's true. I don't
Right.
believe in like you're not alone at all. You are alone. You have a tummy ache, you're alone, At night when you're stressed and you're studying for your exams, you are alone. What do you mean I'm not alone? Like, but if you say, there is support,
Then
it's a
makes
different
more
thing.
sense.
It makes more sense. That means you're not the only one going through it. Yes, I understand where that sentence is coming from.
Sure.
But you are alone because your anxieties and mine will never be the same.
Yeah, I love that distinction. I think it's important to talk about it, because sometimes these axioms I think it comes from a good intention, right? But sometimes when it's overused or the context is not put out there, like grades don't matter, for example, is another one, right?
Yeah.
The fact is that it matters. It matters to them at that point of time because you put in a lot of effort and emotional energy into it. So how can grades not matter at that point of time, right? But I think, so it's the same thing when you're saying that you're not alone. The fact is that both of us know that when you face certain issues, no one else is going to come. Like, yes, there's support outside, but ultimately when you come back to bed, when you come back to your room, right, you deal with it.
Yeah.
You deal with it. The monster's in your head.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to cope with it. If not, it's going to eat you up.
Yeah.
So that's the scary thing, right? And I think the fact that you highlighted that, I think it gives people appreciation. I hope people know that, sometimes it's not easy and it's okay. Like,
going back to what you said just now, right? I just want to say that people always put stories like this, the person that they read about, on a pedestal.
Sure.
But that's not true. It's not true at all.
Yeah.
It's rubbish to say that, I am this way, I have this body, life is this way. That is what society has done because they want to turn it into profit.
Yeah.
Right? An opportunity to make money. But the reality is whether you're Bill Gates, whether you're a Ling, whether you are the cleaner downstairs or, whoever, or even if you're an animal or cat.
Sure.
We all do have the basic needs.
Yeah.
We breathe, we eat, we go to the toilet, we sleep. And what's the last one I always say is we feel. Every one of us feel. So there's no difference between you and I. And people should not be put on a pedestal. Because if you put that person on a pedestal, the minute you see, maybe I always say, the eyebrows today maybe this shape, but tomorrow maybe become zigzag. Oh, something is wrong. And the whole pedestal idea collapses. And then suddenly that person becomes, whoa, you see?
It's a demon.
Fake, not good. It's a demon. It's a, everything bad comes out. And
got it.
Is it true? Is it true? So my point here is that, so what if you have a past? Who doesn't? Who dares to say that we have had life great? We've done the most wonderful things. Every single one of us has a past.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Every one of us has lied before. Every one of us, there's no way of saying, your bad is more bad than mine. My bad is less bad than yours.
Do you think this is a message that PGR wants to put out or you personally want to put out? Because I asked you this question, you know why? Because the reality with media, right, is that it's binary. It's a sad life. And I think we struggle with this as well, right? It's binary. People's attention span are short. Even this podcast is not going to get as many views as my Mothership 10-minute feature, right? But the fact is that you can argue that there's more content here, there's more nuance here, but not everybody would want to go deep into that. And I think because of that, it's very easy for people to put things on a pedestal. In fact, you said it, right? If you never start Project Green, would anybody approach you to talk about your story?
Who cares about you?
Yeah, right? You need to have, even for me as well, like, why, of course I don't get as many media interviews as you, but people have come to me, they come to me because they see rebound resilience.
They come to you because they see humanity.
Mm.
I always say this, it's not about the media, it will not last. But it's about humanity, it's about that human connection, it's about being able to understand and to relate with you, to empathize with you. And they see you because of that bond. Like if you go to the streets now, randomly just walk to the streets. Hey, let me say something to you. This hairstyle doesn't suit your face. The person doesn't realize it's none of your business, right?
Yeah.
But I like my hair to be pink. But oh no, it's not nice, it's not normal. But if someone else who's closer to you says, hey, you know what? This hairstyle doesn't suit your face. Says the same thing that I says, it becomes very different,
Okay.
Really? Is it not so bad? Is it the shade of the pink? But I think it's okay. Correct? Can you see that conversation?
Yeah.
So it's never about what should I do, the advisors. It's never about that. It's about that connection first.
Okay. Yep. I get you on that. I think the point I was trying to mention is that people, it's going to be difficult for people not to put you on a pedestal anyway, because it's just the way humans function, right? We put people on a pedestal, they don't do well, we put them in the pits. Very few people have the empathy to say, hey, let's put it in the heart. What can I learn from this person? Because it's also a scarcity thing that we, technically, you can argue that we like to see people fall, or, we like to condemn people and things like that.
Speaking of which, when they say, I wish you all the best, sometimes when people go around and say, you share your successes with the people around you, to be very honest, right? Nobody want to see your success. Nobody, that's the truth. I learned this.
You think so?
No, people don't.
Okay.
They don't.
Is there exceptions to that? I feel like I would be an
There are
exception.
exceptions, of course.
Okay.
But in general, people don't.
Okay.
It's not like how they genuinely say, I wish you all the best. They don't.
Okay. On that point also, right, I would say even for myself, I mean, people would like to think that I'm more abundant compared to anyone out there. But even for me, right, it's difficult. Sometimes when I look at other success, even when I look at, it's quite funny, even when I look at Project Green Ribbon, or I look at, even among advocates, right, or even among ground-up initiatives, we look at each other, we compare.
I do.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh wow, how come you got this success? How come you got this traction?
I do, quietly in the night.
Then it's like, you kind of in the back of your mind, maybe you ask yourself, well, actually, do I really want a person's success? Then you really have to tell yourself, keep yourself in check.
That's called humanity. That's called human. It's just called human. And if you don't have that, and
survival instinct, is it?
I don't know if it's survival
because you need to win, ma.
But I just say it's human. Okay, for me, I have faith, so I believe it's a
right,
faith. Yeah, I don't want to go into that. So I would just rather say it's human.
Okay.
It's human nature. We all have good and bad in us.
Yeah.
So we have to choose which one we want to feed. But bad comes naturally. Bad is effortless one.
Yeah, I understand.
Good needs to be trained.
Yeah, weeds come just like that, right?
They just
Seeds
come,
have to be sown.
and then after they just... So the trick to it is, I learned from a good friend of mine recently, is how do we keep that, is to remain grounded every single day. Something that I struggle with. Well, very good, I sit down here and talk to you. Not as if I'm doing it. I'm struggling to do it because simple things like feeling, your five senses. He told me, put your feet on the grass. With the things that's in society these days, with the amount of things that we have, that's everything so fast, we just need to stop and feel, so that we don't lose that part of us. Like you say, sometimes there's envy. It's called envy. We envy other people. I do too. If I say to you, no, I don't, it's a lie. Nonsense. I do. Sometimes I look at other people, how come like that? And then I have to remind myself that, look, blah, 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 what not.
Good. I think that's a good... It's not about denying it or suppressing it, right? It's about really acknowledging it and saying...
Don't deny it.
Yeah, I feel this way, but it's okay, I'm human. And then you deal with that in a I won't say deal with that. You find a way to transform or sublime that emotions to something else that's more positive.
Yes. Consciously
that's helped me a lot.
And then it becomes a way of your life.
Yeah, that's helped me
over time.
Wow, so much good stuff. I think we have difficulty cutting snippets because everything is good. But yeah, that's the problem for later. But okay, I think it's good transition into your recovery as well. Now that you talked about your low points and the despair that you face, we can talk about the recovery, like how you got out of that despair. Was there a turning point? Okay, I know this is not a fair question because there are multiple turning points always, but is there a specific moment where you started to kind of come out of that life and decided to say, I'm going to stop taking drugs, I'm going to stop? No. We didn't even talk about that.
No.
It wasn't.
See, before you can
just
finish your sentence, I can say no, right?
Okay.
Why? Because from the very start, I've always sort of knew what I wanted. But because of the circumstances, I was fighting for survivability, even though they were choices that I made. And they were not very great choices, but they were the best choices I made for myself at that point in time. And why no again is because I was always trying to find a way out. It's not like, I just cluelessly, oh wow, work and then spend the money, then I'm happy, and then I just, no, it's not. There are people like that, They just do it really because the money is good.
Okay.
I never wanted to be there.
Sure.
At all. And I was so convicted about it that it's something that, no, the minute I can get out, I will get out. It's just that I was always looking for like a husband to marry. That's the truth. Because if you say a rich guy, I've had rich boyfriends before, and I left them because I was not happy, because they were not able to empathize with me. And I remember my aunt said to me, hey, why don't you just follow him to the Philippines? And, he had a very high position in a very, a well-known company, and all that, and he was an expat lah. But I couldn't, because you'll never understand what I went through.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be happy. Yeah, we're gonna have the lifestyle, we're gonna have the money, we're gonna have the okay.
The
and
connection won't be there, right?
And it's like, then what? Like, do you know why am I having nightmares? Can I talk to you if I have nightmares? I couldn't find that warmth, and so I knew that very well as well. But then I was always looking for a family because I wanted to create my own family to get out of whatever I had. Then came along the different guys that was not suitable.
Okay.
And so far, I think the one that was most suitable is my husband lah, right? Like that, which brings me to a point: is that right? How do I find the right guy? There's no such thing. There's no right wife or right guy or right woman. No. All of us human beings are not even right for a start. We're just human beings. But it's about making it work.
Okay. You made it work, but I also found it interesting that you knew him actually at 15.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the thing. Like, you really knew him, and he probably knew the life that you were leading.
He knew the entire life that I was
He had his own issues as well.
Yes.
And then somehow you all connected and then started to support each other slowly as you grew up.
Not really. No, we never really supported each other.
When did you all start to come and, for example, date or start to get close to each other?
On that phone call when I escaped, after my last engagement broke off, and then we reconnected again, like when I was a few weeks before I was 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So throughout, it's very funny, from 15 years old to 21, you might ask,
were
you in contact? What happened?
Yeah.
No, we were not.
Sure.
Did I even know his real name? Many months later, then I know his name. And that's all I knew about him.
Right.
His age, his name, he was married, he had one kid. Then subsequently, I found out 2 kids. Then subsequently, then you start to find out more things. But that was it. He was a very private person. I couldn't find information on him. And it's not like, this person had the same phone number, or that we know. It's not, we just, I would say it's fate lah. Because it comes to a point where sometimes, I just go to every KTV I drop in. I surely see him there one.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's just life. Circumstances and things happen. And every single KTV I go in, right, I always ask myself, came to a point I was like, cursed there. I was like, because he's the guy that I sort of like hated the most. He's not nice to me. We've never gone out to eat together. We don't have conversations. Nothing. It was just, she doesn't even ask me, how are you? But yet there was something that I felt very, is the word connected?
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's connected towards him, there was something.
Drawn.
Very drawn. It's not that I love you or you're so handsome. Nothing, I always say like, you got nothing. I always tell him you got nothing. Like,
that's not true.
I don't know why.
Handsome man.
I mean,
last time I know lah. Last time he used to cover his face, but I think now he's okay openly sharing.
He's okay now. So I was like, I always jokingly say you got nothing. Don't know why I marry you. I always say that, but I don't mean it in that way. Like, it's just that. Logically, when you're at that position, you just ask yourself, what was it that I was so drawn to him? Was he like a millionaire? Was he like 6 packs body, or like super handsome? Nothing, you see, or driving what? Some car, nothing. It was just nothing. It was just a regular guy. That's what I meant. Like a regular guy. But I knew that there was pain in him. At 15 years old, last time was MSN, right?
Yeah.
So we were on MSN once, and I actually asked him, why are you always so hateful?
Okay.
Why are you always so angry? There's something more. I always had this gift.
Yeah.
So friends would always talk to me. I was always able to empathize and extract out people's emotions. And he never replied to me. He said no. You know why I asked him that? Every single time I have a conversation with him, or I try to, he doesn't smile. He doesn't say thank you. He doesn't say sorry. He doesn't say hi. Yeah. Okay. See my mood how. That's all he says.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I can be with him for 5 hours, and that's it. The rest is just pure silence. So tell me how awkward it was. It was the most awkward guy and person I've ever met in my whole life, and I ended up marrying him. Until today, I always ask myself, like, what happened?
I'm going to ask you that question now.
Yeah, what happened was, I'm right, he has a lot of pain.
Sure.
He has so much pain that is hidden within him, you see, and he doesn't even recognize it at that point in time. And there is a soft side inside him, and I've always had this, I don't know if it's called a gift.
I mean, that's what I felt when I met him also.
There's a lot,
the gentleness and softness.
There is a lot, but
Yeah.
yet it's not coming out.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, you just can feel it, right? And the thing here is that when I look at him every single time, I sort of like see myself in him a little bit. That makes sense.
Yeah, I know it makes a lot of sense. You shared on previous features as well that it was different. It was different from your past relationships because of this reason. That when he said don't go,
Yeah.
right? Somehow something you that warmth, something you just felt drawn and you just felt that warmth that you never felt before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before that he asked me, are you hungry on that night when I reached? I really did not expect the guy that I hated the most, the one who doesn't give a shit about anything at all, to be the one that I turned out. And he knew that. That's why I asked him, how come you still ask me to come to your house? I asked him. He says to me, because I know that I must have really been the last option. Because I would have called anyone else except for him. Because he's not nice, right?
Yeah.
He's not nice to me. Like I can't understand where I stand with him at all. But with the other guys, at least I knew. It was more straightforward. Okay, what was it you want? It was very clear cut. With him, it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from then on, I think I'm just curious what you did after that when you got married. Right? I think you went back to school for a bit. Right? Did a little bit of private course.
Before I got married, I actually did a few private
courses,
courses.
right?
17.
Yeah, but no O levels, no N levels.
No,
you're mentioning, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so after that you went and worked straight away, and then you got married to him.
Yeah.
And then you went to work. How was those early years?
I didn't work since I was 21. Like I didn't work.
Work
Yeah, I didn't. He was working.
And you took care of the home and everything.
Yeah. I took care of the house. I did everything. It was like the dream life, but yet it was not something that I wanted to be as well. It's very contradicting, you see. There's a side of me that wants to be that little girl who's married happily and have kids and just be a good mom and good wife.
Okay.
And but yet, right, as a child, I always say I don't want to end up being a Huang Lian Po.
Okay.
So that is very contradicting.
That fighter kind of came out in you, that comforter and the fighter, in a way.
I think because my mom is like that.
Yeah.
My whole family is like that. They're very dominant. They're very I don't know what's the term for it. You're just And I think it's partly also in the blood, the genes, right? And it just grew along the way, without me realizing. And I believe that every single person has a purpose in life. So my question is, what's my purpose? Like for one thing, I've always known that I wanted to do something back in charity. But what it was, I couldn't know at a point in time. So I was exploring even going overseas, humanitarian work, and I was saying like, do I have to be rich to do that?
Yeah.
How do I get into United World? Is it United Nations? Sorry, not World.
Yeah.
And and then I was very lost. I was really finding my way. But very recently, I actually...
It was not very long ago. It was 3-4 years ago that PGR started, right?
No, I wouldn't actually say PGR started 3-4 years ago. I would say officially PGR started only this year.
Oh, wow.
In February.
Officially registered
in February this year. And PGR's works, I would say, is about me. And what is PGR about? It's just about me searching for myself. That's how PGR grew. I was looking for myself. And so it was actually called another name. It was actually called Searching Us before this. It was called Searching Her because I was trying to do a blog many years ago and I left it there. Okay. And then it came to a point where I grew my own audience when I was live streaming. So I said, okay, let's change the name. Let's change it. And everyone suggested for it to be Searching Us because we are all searching for ourselves.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about live streaming also before.
Live streaming,
it's
right?
a different thing, yeah. So you're at home but you're doing live streaming, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then after the live streaming, right, I realized that I cannot use. I said no. It's time.
Yeah.
I just had a feeling that no, it's time. I am not gonna do searching her or searching us anymore. Let's
Yeah.
grow this into an organization.
Sure.
Then the point was how. So
Okay.
that's how Green Ribbon really like came about. But if you ask me, like, did it just flourish overnight? No, it didn't. The seeds were already there many years ago. Different kinds of work we've been doing is already there. And I used to ask myself this, I say, wow, somehow or rather, why am I always stuck in this position where, I always receive kindness and I'm always willing to give out kindness, sometimes too much, there's no boundary to it. And I met up with an uncle
Yeah.
who was actually very close to my great-grandmother, right? She was a godson of my actually great-grandfather. So basically mama's husband lah,
Yeah.
my yeye. And I never met my yeye, but I know there's this statue of his head, no?
Okay.
Because he was the first person in Singapore to actually offer his body for some body testing.
Okay.
So it's in, I think, history or something. I don't know, okay? I don't know.
Okay.
It's too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I found out that because Yeye used to take in children, he had a lot of boys that he took, who like he was looking after, all the problematic children. Some are babysitting. And he would give every single of his salary out to them until there was nothing left at home. And then my mama, of course, got angry because he took everything out, right? Then the family got nothing to eat. Yeah, and then I realized that, he's not the only one. After my yeye, my uncle is also in the same industry. My mom's also doing something similar. And then me. I'm like the youngest right now. So I'm the youngest version who is doing it. The youngest.
So in a way, it's in the blood, lah, in some sense.
Without me realizing, I think it's in the blood.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
the
a
whole
it's
family,
I know it's a labor of love, because like you said, it takes a lot to give completely and like kind of in some sense separate yourself from capitalism. I won't say separate yourself lah, but it requires you to really give and know that hey, at the beginning it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard to raise funds. You're going to do events. People are not going to turn up, and all this kind of stuff. Before I talk about Project Green Ribbon, I think I didn't explore that process up to that enough. Do you have any other ways of working through your struggles? Because this podcast is about overcoming, it's about resilience, right? Apart from your husband that you met, is there any other things that you did, like therapy, mindful, anything that you did that helped you, slowly kind of go build yourself up to where you are now?
Yes, of course, there were things that I did. I never gave up, right? That's one of it. I kept waking up the next day again. And I think this is something that people always discredit themselves for. So if you ask me, aside from everything else, I would say waking up, breathing, getting up the next day again is the biggest thing that I did for myself to continue building the resilience and the journey that I was on. Then, on top of that, I went for therapy and I was always searching. This is the truth, It's not about whether I've gone for therapy, have you tried meditation, have you tried medication, have you tried, it's not about that. It's the fact that you still wake up every single day. And that's more than enough because every time you awake, it's an opportunity for you. If you don't even wake up, like no therapy can wake you up there, right? If you just wake up, you are already giving yourself an opportunity to search for whatever the answer is for yourself. That's the biggest thing I think one can do for themselves because that gives them plenty of opportunities of how they want to get things done.
I love that. How does one find the strength to do it when they feel in despair? They are in deep despair and hopelessness. How do they find that?
There's only two ways in life. I make it very, very blunt in all my speeches. Not really two, maybe three ways. Okay. 1, be where you're at. Wallow and sit there in self-pity. Life is going to be the same. No one's going to pity you. Regardless of how unfair it is. I am not saying it's not fair. It's unfair. Okay, great. But too bad, right? What else can be done? So sit there and drown. 2, if you have drowned all the way to the bottom, if I kick you into the water right now and you can swim, you'll still go down first, right? Before you come out.
Yeah.
There's only one way. You can either sit there and cry, because you're drowning, and go, oh, I'm drowning. Or somehow rather push your way up. There's only 2 ways. Either you die or you live. And that's why I say it's very, very honest and very blunt. There's no nice way of putting it. And naturally, like I say, if I push you into the water, what's a normal person's reaction? They just go like that. It's okay.
Yeah.
No, they immediately, the
Yeah,
hands
yeah,
will
yeah,
move.
yeah.
The legs will move naturally. They don't even need to think, it will move.
Okay.
But the question is, how long will it move? How long will they keep trying? How long will they keep going?
Yeah.
That
I
kills
understand.
them, you know.
Got you. No, because I find it quite incredible that for you to say that, like, for anyone have gone through like things that you have gone through, right? I can say that maybe I can empathize if they maybe had not, come out of that kicking and alive and strong, because there is so much burden to bear, right? But the fact is you come out, and I mean we didn't talk about that also, but you had a kid, right? And now I think she's grown up already, right? She's with someone else.
She's probably coming, she's P6 this year.
Wow. Okay. And she's with someone else,
She's
right?
going,
Foster family.
no, she's with one of my step-auntie.
So you meet her once in a while, you have a chat with her.
I
right?
don't meet, that's something I haven't shared yet, but that's another story of its own. I haven't really shared. I've never
Can we
shared.
explore that? Yeah. Is
At
she
all.
okay? I think if she's not okay, I think we just keep it. But basically, for context, I think you had a daughter. Was it daughter?
Yeah, I have a daughter, and she's
at 15, right? At 15.
yeah, I had a daughter. No,
When you're 15.
yeah, you know the ages sometimes
Sure,
gets me so
sure, yeah.
confused. But yes, about there. And I have a daughter, and she is secondary 1 next year. She's doing well, I would say. That's an entire story of its own.
Sure.
And I would say that leaving her where she is at the moment, if things are working out for her, is the best option, rather than trying to take her back and say like, I'm your mother, So
Sure.
like, it doesn't mean shit. Sorry about my language, but it doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
It's like saying, oh, I'm the mother, I carry the child for like 9 months, but why the child going to the maid?
Yeah.
Or the helper, or why going to the amma? Why want the
Sure,
teacher?
sure.
Because it's about the bond.
Yeah.
Does the child care whether you carry her for 9 months and never sleep? It's not important
as
to
much,
the child. No, the
Not as
child
much.
doesn't care.
Really? You feel so? I would argue maybe.
The child doesn't care because the child is not aware.
Okay,
The child
okay.
has, in layman terms, you have been 5 before.
Mm-hmm.
The child is only 5. The child has not been 17 or 20 before, or a
Sure.
mom. The child will only really start to know more when the child is a mom before. So
Okay.
we should be able to understand the child more because we were once 5 or
Yeah,
6 or
okay.
7.
Yeah.
Not tell the child you should try to understand me, because it's very difficult. I was a mother, I
Okay.
carried you for. To the child, it's like, huh? You give birth to me, what?
Yeah. I understand.
That's why children always say that, right? Who was you give birth to me?
I understand. But would it make like, I'll make an argument that like kids naturally they want to, I guess, connect with their biological parents, or there's some instinct within them that says, hey, maybe I want to.
It will
Because
never
I've
be
had friend-
taken away.
Yeah.
Never. You will still want to find, because that's your roots.
Yeah.
It's your roots, and you will
Yeah.
always want to go back to your roots. So if you
Yeah.
ask me, then yes, I want to know who my dad is.
Mm.
Not because I'm gonna cry or I'm gonna miss you or no. I just want to know who you are,
Yeah.
what you're like, what have you done. That does it mean I love my mom less? No.
Mm.
Like even if he's a millionaire now, he comes to me, hey Ling, you know what? I'm gonna give you a ta-da fairy godmother, that kind of like.
Mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
Like no, it's not gonna work out.
Okay.
So it's really about people. We are human beings. We need to always know our roots,
Okay.
and that's normal.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that part. We didn't explore that earlier, but I think the reason why I went there is because I'm trying to see because I'm trying to show the audience that you had been through a lot, right? And yet you come out there alive and kicking, and for you to share that with me, it brought me a bit. I was a bit emotional listening to that. I'm trying to control it now because I don't want to. I always sometimes just cry on a podcast and just have to stop. But sometimes, because I can really feel like it's just very impactful to me that all through it all you stayed strong, and I'm trying to understand and also give hope to people who are maybe in similar situations,
Yeah.
but they just cannot find their strength. How do you just decide to find that strength? Do you think it's personality? Do you think
No, it's not. But I don't think it's a personality.
yeah.
I think it stems from, again, our own purpose, our own belief system that pans out. Everyone's path is different. It's like playing a game of life.
Yeah.
We talk about Squid Game. We're all on Squid Game.
Mm.
We're all gambling with our lives. We take a different path, but it's the same game it's the game of life.
Mm.
But which way we go, left, right, straight, up, down, it's like snake and ladders, it's all right. It's all different, and different kinds of step that we take has a different kind of consequence.
Sure.
And so how does someone really find is not something that anyone can say to you. You just got to ask yourself, like, if you know, I always say this, if you know in 24 hours you're going to die, and you're left with 24 hours, where will you go? Who will you want to be with? What will you want to do? Will that matter to you? Sit down and just ask yourself that. Like, you don't even need to answer anyone. Just ask yourself. I know I'm 24 hours, and if you say, oh, I want to go KTV, for example, okay, since we're talking about KTV, I want to go KTV and sit down and sing the whole night, and you're happy with that, I would say, good, well done, because you did something that you really want.
Yep.
It's not about how society sees.
Oh, you told me about this before once. You say if I slap someone or I punch somebody,
Yeah, I
and
gave you
then
that analogy,
energy,
right?
right?
I said, you know, if it's about...
But if you are fine with it, it's okay.
Yeah, if you do things that matters to you, and it's a choice that you want. Not because someone says, sit down nicely because you should sit because this is the way to sit. If I want to sit with my leg up, means I sit with my leg up. And if you don't like it, you can walk away or don't invite me to your house. Right? As long as it's within boundaries where we don't offend people, we don't cause hurt to anybody.
I think that's a good disclaimer to put in.
And to yourself.
Yeah.
But if, you know, some people eat noodles with sound, some don't eat with sound, like that's none of your business. It's your choice.
Okay.
But ultimately, I think with today's conversation, I actually just wanted to say something, which is, from the very start of my entire life, and even with PGR, at this point in time, the pain is already there.
Okay.
You know, sometimes when you say the glass is broken and the scar is there, that kind of cliche thing, it's already there. Whether we share, we don't share, we talk about it, we don't talk about it, it's already there. It's not going to go away. The stresses, the anxiety, the reliving of the moments, the traumatic experiences, the pain, the confusion, the doubts, right? All these negative emotions, as we call it, or experiences. Why not convert the pain into something more beneficial for yourself and for someone out there? Why not turn your pain into purpose? If you ask me one thing, Ling, what's your biggest asset? Oh, I have no medals. I have no qualifications. I have nothing to my name. Does it affect me? Of course. I've asked myself, like, what have I achieved today? But I forgot to let myself know that whatever that I want to achieve is what society recognizes, materialistically wise.
Okay.
But my biggest asset is my pain, like you mentioned earlier. Convert your pain to help another person. That person who might be going through the exam period, like you said, grades. Life beyond grades, right? For them to learn or to actually be able to experience what matters to them most. At the end of this life, it's about our purpose. Resilience is one of it, of course, but resilience comes with life. People have asked me this, Ling, how do we build resilience? I say, oh, please don't go for 10 steps to build your resilience. 1 step it doesn't really work. I said, resilience is life. Babies, they walk, they fall down, they walk, they fall down, they walk, and they fall down, right? They crawl, then they fall down. It's building resilience of their own. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think the whole principle that you shared in the last 1, 2 to 3 minutes, I think it resonates really strongly with me. I think that's why we can connect as well. I mean, if you look at rebound and resilience,
that's what you did.
It is pain to purpose, failure to mastery. I think that's our mission.
Yeah.
It's our mission. So, and I look at PGR as well to build resilience in society. I mean, our missions are really similar, which is why we chatted a lot about life and also helped you with your event. Appreciate you also asking me down to speak, to be your first speaker. I don't know why you put me there. I hope I did an okay job for you.
It's not for me, but whether you think you did an okay job for yourself.
Something I'm still figuring out. I think I'm a bit hard on myself sometimes. But I'm starting to learn that people do get value from my sharing and from who I am.
You're very hard on yourself now, honestly.
I am. I mean, it's just the way I am.
Which is fine. But you need to ask yourself, is it getting you anything out of it? Let's say you're hard on yourself. Are you getting better results from it? To what extent? What's the limit? And if you're as hard as yourself, you should also love yourself just as much. Then I would say, that makes sense. Then you're getting somewhere. But if you're just so hard on yourself and you don't give yourself the credit, then time for you to just... You're gonna drown. You're just drowning and killing your own self without you realizing it.
No, thanks for the reminder. I always do say that growth is a mix of gratitude and demand, right? it has to be you're grateful for where you are before setting a new demand for you. Because if you just set a demand and you're always self-loading or you're self-hatred, like, hey, I mean, I never do this well enough, it's not a good place to be. That growth doesn't come from there. It comes from a border. It comes at the border of both support and challenge, or both gratitude and demand. I think, but people find it very hard to find that balance, honestly. I think both of us are still working on that, but we have to lah. I think at least we know that's
Awareness
where it's
is
at.
key.
Yeah, so I think we're winding down already, with PGR and the work you're doing. People can go and check it out for sure. But what is something new you've learned about yourself through this journey? Running
I've
PGR.
learned a lot of things about myself.
The most profound one or the most striking one?
I've learned novelty.
Okay.
This was something that a friend told me. Ling, you're unique on your own. Sometimes people say, can you be a little bit less controversial? I was like, it's controversial just because people don't talk about it. But I'm actually talking about very basic needs. So I realized that me yapping all the way is a strength that I have without me realizing. It's one of the strongest, these two things.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it about myself, but I also feel like that's something that I can vibe with.
Yeah.
Because people say I can just talk and talk.
Yeah. I think if you can talk right, I think I'm worse than you.
It's worse. Because exactly. Because we met the person on Zoom, I was like, when is she gonna stop? I mean, in my mind, sorry to be honest here. But usually I'm the one talking a lot also. But the fact that you can go on and about your passion, about so many other things, wow. But sometimes it's tiring for people because they don't have the emotional capacity to take so much in.
Correct. And they're not ready for it.
Yeah. So you gotta watch. But I'm sure you're really aware of that. Okay, cool. Of course, before I go into the last Q&A with Ling, right? I just want to shoot a shout out to Project Green Ribbon. They do accept donations, and they have free programs as well. There's the first responder program, as well as the talks that I was part of. So do check out our website. I'll put the link below. I'm actually doing a campaign, but I think by the time this is released, it'll be over. But it's okay. You can always check them out. Go to the Instagram page, follow them, support them in ways that you can, and reach out to Ling if you want to, or her team. But I guess just summarize, right? What the vision of PGR is and the mission, what you'll do. Succinct one.
To give a voice to the unheard, and to focus on 3 core values in a way. It's to empathize with the people, to empower people, and to enable people by giving them opportunities.
Okay, Ling, we have come towards the end of the podcast. I'm just gonna do a quick fire Q&A with you. Any questions on resilience, mental health, and turning despair into hope?
Okay.
All right. So it's short answers. Of course, you can elaborate a little bit. I think that's fine.
Okay, I
All right.
try.
Okay. First question: what is the most painful memory you have?
My childhood. My family.
Elaborate a little bit.
The family that was supposed to protect you end up hurting you.
Describe what despair feels like.
Wow. Emptiness.
Just nothing? Nothing at all.
Emptiness because you're so low. You're so low already. You're out of... It's like you're just in a hole and that's it.
Okay. What are the 2 biggest factors that turned your pain into purpose and your despair into hope?
My kids and wanting to be heard. Myself.
Okay. If you could go back in time, would you change things?
No.
Why not?
Why should I?
It's making it difficult for me. I wanted to elaborate a bit, but I guess it's hard to elaborate from there.
No, okay, I can elaborate. You can ask again. I can try.
No, it's okay.
But
Just
that's the
continue.
truth.
Just
Why
continue.
should I? Because what matters if you change one thing, there's no one thing. You have to change everything. And if you change everything, what makes you sure that the route will be the same again? It doesn't matter. It's already happened.
Okay.
And there'll never be a if.
Sure. What does hope mean to you?
Wow. Hope is everything, because in life, if you don't have hope, then there's nothing to live for, right?
Okay. What is one cornerstone to your resilience?
Compassion and kindness. Sorry, I have to.
Explain a little bit. There's not a common answer.
Why is it a part of my resilience? Is because every single time when there's compassion and kindness I've received from the people and I've given out to people, I get back so much more in return.
Okay, and that strengthens you, lah.
That strengthens me, and that gives me the right way of strengthening. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What is the biggest misconception about mental health?
Mental health disorders, you always have to have a disorder, which is not true. Mental health is just literally your mental well-being, just like your physical health, right? If I take away your head now, your brain, what happens?
I die, lah.
No lah, brainless lah.
How to be brainless?
Brain dead what?
Okay, brain
no brain
dead,
lah.
fine,
Brainless lah.
fine.
Brainless,
Yeah,
literally no
sure.
brain.
Yeah.
But if now I put your brain back and I take out your heart, what happens? You have a brain, no heart.
Die, no?
No, heartless lah.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
So,
where are you driving at?
What
Let
I'm
me get the
driving
point.
at is your mental
Sure.
your mental well-being is in your brains. It's
Okay.
just that we cannot look after our brains. I mean, we cannot see our brains to be able to how do we look after our brains? So
Right.
mental health is literally our mental well-being, which is in our brains. That's it.
Okay.
If you didn't laugh, it would be...
No. I'm trying to get it. I think maybe the audience will get it, lah. We'll move on probably. I'll get it later when I review the footage. What is the ideal culture you hope to see when it comes to mental health in Singapore?
Self-care, I would say, because, people who are not used to self-care or not aware about self-care will mistake it for selfishness.
Okay. If you could share just one sentence to someone who's on the verge of giving up hope, right, what would it be?
The power of choice is yours.
Project Green Ribbon aims to empower people. This is the last question. Can go a little bit more, it's fine. Define what empower means.
Enabling you to actually convert your strengths into something more purposeful for yourself and for society.
Thank you so much, Ling.
No problem.
I love you and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Your work and you as a person also mean a lot to me. It's been, I know we only met a couple of times, but in those times you have really made an impact in my life, and I do hope we have more collaborations in the future.
If you're less busy as well, and I think I appreciate, the friendship that we have within this short time span. It's not, it's not about the time, right?
Yeah,
but it's really about the content of the friendship that we have. Yeah. And I love you so much too. It's just I'm a bit loud, much louder. That's just me, right? That's why it makes us great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think we're nearing towards the end of the podcast. I think for sure, check out Project Green Ribbon's work. I think I'll put all the links, everything there. Please follow them on Instagram as well. Rebound and Resilience, can follow us on Spotify, on YouTube, depending on which you're watching. And I guess with that, we'll see you on the next episode. Subscribe, share, and feel free to share it on Spotify or whatever on Instagram. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.